now it's my honor to introduce our presenters from today's session. So first, I'd love to introduce Lynn, Lynn Ox, who's going to be presenting along with Moxie John. Lynn is a lifelong educator and recognized leader in the field of education. She served as Chief Program Officer at the Meyerson Academy and held senior leadership roles in digital learning and administrative and teaching roles in schools and regional service center. And I also want all of you to know, Lynn also has real classroom experience. So her insights and guidance come from her roles in a variety of different roles in schools and organizations. Lynn's top strengths are leadership, love, and her unmistakable zest. Lynn, tell us what strength you're going to be leaning into during this
Kelly, I
presentation.
will definitely be bringing on the zest today.
We love that. We
One
love
of
that.
my
It's so
faves.
energizing. And now I want to introduce Moxie John. Moxie John has a rich background in the nonprofit field, both in education and in social services, specifically working to fight hunger insecurity. She has worked for both Teach for America and Feeding America's affiliated food banks in Florida and Ohio. Moxie thrives when she can support nonprofits and help them operate more efficiently and effectively. Her top strengths are honesty, kindness, and humor. And we have to also mention creativity because she is an impressive baker. I just tell you, she's so impressive. Moxie, what strength are you leaning into right now?
Definitely humor. Humor for sure is guiding us today. Sometimes we just have to laugh at ourselves.
Well done. Well done. Well, I'm going to turn it over to these experts and just be here to help out and ask everyone to stay on mute and off camera because we are recording and we just want to protect your privacy.
Thank you, Kelly. What amazing introductions, Moxie. Aren't we just honored to be with everybody? We're so excited, and your perseverance, you all, it's amazing to see how you found the link, found the change, and we are so excited that you're here to learn about 5 steps you can take immediately at the conclusion of this webinar, unless it's the evening for you, of course, to create a thriving classroom. As you look at the picture on screen, here's what we want to share. Perhaps, like educators across the globe, you would like to find your true North Star again, your passion, your commitment, your why for going into the field of education. Whether it was your love of working with students, or perhaps it was those aha moments where the students learned something new, or maybe it's those times where you really know that you're building a community in that classroom and in that school, and kids have a safe place to learn and grow. Whatever your why, you have come to the right place if you're looking for an opportunity to have a spark and really reignite that passion. We're going to be considering what strategies you can adopt to help your classroom thrive, all the students and your families. And if you have any questions about how you might do that, you're in the right place. So we're going to get started with the 5 steps. So here they are. Hold on to your seatbelt, grab a sheet of paper. We move right along through these steps, and you might want to take down some notes, share some ideas as we go through. Here they are. We're going to design, this has been specially designed for you to help you discover your own character strengths and activate them to reignite your passion and increase your engagement. And in step 2, we will be talking about doing that with your students as well and helping them to reignite and be more engaged in class. Doesn't that sound great? Then we're going to talk about spotting strengths. That's a proven method that you can use to really help others develop a sense of self-agency. And that in turn results in confidence and has an amazing ripple effect. And lastly, in those last 2 steps, we're going to talk about practical strategies, proven practical strategies for how you can integrate character strengths into your work stream as you create a thriving culture in your own learning environment. For each one of these steps, we'll be sharing some great stories, a little bit of video, some examples, and maybe more importantly, tools and resources that you can walk away with today. We encourage you to keep those notes as we go through. And I think without further ado, how we doing, Kelly? We get everybody in?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Keep going for
All
now. That's
right,
great.
let's get
Thank you.
started. I want to set the stage first and talk about where we've been in the past in education and why character strengths are so important right now in today's world. If you think about the past in education, we had some balance, work-life balance. I'm not sure it was ever perfect, but we had pretty good balance. But increasingly, we hear educators are overwhelmed. The workload is just overwhelming. In the past, there was some certainty, and that might have been around our roles and our leaders, and there was stability out there. And now, a lot of uncertainty, leadership transitions, teacher shortages. It has, I've seen the comments in the chat. Yeah, I do think it's gotten worse, that sense of uncertainty and that overwhelm. And I think in the past, whoops, sorry, wrong click there. We were tired. Teachers have always been tired. It's a hard profession, but it was doable, right? Anymore, we hear from everyone that they're in a state of exhaustion, just sheer exhaustion. And last but not least, in the past, we really had that strong sense of community, whether it was within our teaching staff, our school, our district, our community. And since the pandemic, have you found that everyone has a sense of isolation? And that has continued since the pandemic. There's so much division going on in our world, in our own communities, that it makes it very difficult. That's why we think that last step, building relationships, that we're going to cover, is so very important. Relationships are critical to building community. And guess what? To our own well being as well. I'm seeing a lot of great comments in the chat. You all, we love that. I'm going to keep going and talk about what we can do about all this place of negativity. Let's think about positive emotion. So, we're going to make a little flip. We know things are challenging. And what we want to say today is that the character strengths have a way of impacting us and bringing about these positive emotions. Let's talk about how that happens. When we shift our perspective from the negative to the positive, we know from the research of Barbara Fredrickson that amazing things can happen. Joy, love, contentment, interest, happiness. And when that occurs, let's take that a little deeper. In her broaden and build theory, she talks about how when we're in a state of positive emotion, our thinking expands and we can be more creative and be better problem solvers. And when that happens, we build resource, both physical, mental, social, and we see transformation, and that impacts academics as well. This is a cyclical process. So as you see in the transform block, that advancement creates more positive emotion and it continues in a loop. Here's what I will challenge you to think about. While this is a theory, I know that you actually have experienced this in your day to day. Have you ever walked into a building or a school in the morning and said, oh my goodness, right away, maybe there's an angry parent or someone's left you a note that just sets you off? Or maybe you just had a hard morning. Was it a little hard to get in gear? Did you feel that need to switch to a positive state to be able to teach? We kind of know we have to break out of it. And maybe you grabbed a colleague and talked it through, or you found a way to break through to a positive place. But for our students, they need a little bit of help, right? And so for our students, they come in the same way. They are coming in perhaps from a difficult home life. Maybe they've had a bad time on a bus, maybe walking into that first moment in the classroom. And so it's really critical that we help them make a shift to a positive state of emotion in order for them to learn, for them to experience that broaden and build phenomena. And that's how we can achieve that academic success we're looking for. So how do you get there, right? This is tough to make that switch from the negative to the positive. Here's what we know from years of experience and lots of research. Character strengths are the secret. They give us that common language to shift our focus from what's wrong to what's strong. Very powerful. For those of you that are new to the 24 character strengths, we're not going to give a lot of background. We encourage you to do a little bit of research on the VIA site, but we want to share some of the key elements with you at this time. The VIA character strengths, there are 24 of them, are patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. You have all 24, which is pretty exciting. This is universal. It's something we all have in common. But notice the second part of that statement. You each have your own unique combination. Even amongst us on this screen, we have some common top strengths, but none of them are in the same order or exactly the same. So the strengths also represent our own diversity because we have our own unique combination. Strengths help us describe who we are at our best. Hello. Hello, hello. Little flip of the switch there. And guess you get to see how many slides we're going to cover. So they describe us at our best and all of humanity at its best. And they're universal. Kelly, we have people from all over today. And I'm very happy to share that the survey, for instance, is in 44 languages. This is a universal framework, and it describes the best of all of us across the globe.
I love that. I love that, Lynn. And so just a question, I think this is something that we offer, that this is part of is this something that teachers can get, like what you're showing right here?
Yeah, we might get some questions about that. It's good, Kelly. Yeah, these are two versions of classroom character strengths posters and charts that we have available through VIA, and they are all in kid-friendly language. And so you'll see the beautiful, colorful symbols for the lower grades, and all the way up through high school. The gray chart has a little bit more in-depth definitions. And so these are very, very important to have in the classroom. Thanks, Kelly. So let's talk a little bit more about what we know when students activate their strengths. The research shows that they're going to have increased engagement, well-being, satisfaction, and meaning, that sense of meaning and hope, and achievement. That's pretty amazing. We're going to go ahead and put in the chat a link for those of you that are wanting to dig into the research. VIA has an amazing library for you, so you can take this even further if you'd like. So setting the stage that we want to flip that script to the positive, from the negative to the positive, and that character strengths are the key, and they're very well researched. Let's go ahead and jump into step one. I know you've all been waiting. There it is. Discover your strengths. Let's talk about how you can get started establishing a thriving classroom. Let's dive into step one. We're going to suggest that while as educators, we often think of our students first, don't we? It's very important to think about this first step. We are going to encourage you to light up your own light first. Make the shift to a positive state of emotion. I know it's very counterintuitive. You may have gotten on today to say, show me what I can do with my students, but we're going to say this. It's just like that old airplane analogy. You got to put on your own mask before you can help your students and care for them. Discovering your own unique combination of strengths is the very first step. As you activate your strengths, it's going to help you challenge those challenging situations and maybe some challenging students that are bound to come your way. And when you have activated your own strengths, you're going to build your resilience. Let's look at a few other benefits of activating your own strengths. Here's what we know from the research, and this is just a small sampling again. When you activate your top strengths, it can help you reduce burnout and increase engagement. You're better able to adapt to all those changes like we talked about on that previous screen. Our world just keeps changing, and we have to be able to roll and be creative. We need Moxie, your creativity, and we must be proactive. And wouldn't we all want to have increased happiness and reduce depression and anxiety? And you know what's amazing? When you discover your strengths and your colleagues do as well, something interesting happens. Let's watch this little clip about how important it can be.
This is not only great for the students, it goes for the staff. It's a lifelong learning. It's a journey to help them be the best they can be and see the strengths in themselves and in others.
Interesting. I'm going to talk a lot about this as we talk about how once you and your staff begin to use your strengths, amazing things can happen. Moxie, take it away. How can they get started on this path?
Thanks, Lynn. The very first step is to take the VIA Character Strength Survey. At the end of our session, we're going to provide you with instructions to take our free Character Strength Survey if you haven't already. I know several of you posted about your strengths and are already familiar with this. Once you've taken the survey, you'll receive a report highlighting your top strengths. We call these your signature strengths. A great description of our signature strengths is that they are essential, energizing, and easy to use. It would be like taking your breath away if one of them was removed suddenly. The Signature Strengths plaque is available in our subscription service for download, and you'll receive a copy as a special gift at the end of this webinar. Lynn, can you show us some examples of how we might display our signature strengths?
Absolutely, Moxie. It is amazing the creative ways people come up with to share. And this is where your creativity, you all, can really, really shine. Here are some just quick examples. This is a simple one where some counselors displayed their top strengths outside, just on the classroom wall, so everyone could see it as they came in. And then we have a wanted poster from our middle school fellow here, where he's asking everybody to watch for his strengths in action. Again, so much creativity. Look at this. This staff made a word cloud with all of their top strengths in the shape of their mascot, and then displayed their top strengths with that woof paw. Last but not least, we encourage you to include everyone in taking the VIA, including the staff. That means custodial, plant operators, cafeteria, and office staff. Can you imagine when someone comes in and can automatically see this particular school secretary's top strengths? You know, you might think it may not be important, but it really is. This is an important step after you've taken the VIA. Displaying your strengths, believe it or not, starts an amazing ripple. It creates an interest and helps build deeper relationships with students, colleagues, and families. As others get a chance to learn more about you, they get to know you, and they also start seeing a lot of positivity here as they think about what's right and what's going on in the school that's strong. So let's go ahead and move to step 2. You've
And
now
if you don't
lit up
mind,
your.
Lynn,
Oh, sorry,
can I
Kelly, go ahead.
no, I'll
Yes.
just pop in. Sorry. We have some folks joining us. Again, I want to thank everyone for your persistence in finding our webinar today. We're thrilled to have you here. We have some really great stuff for you at the end, some free things and some deeply discounted things to make things to help 2024, help you wrap up the school year and make it your best year ever. So thanks for joining us. Lynn, hop right back in. This is great. I love this.
Sure will. Thank you for jumping in. And for those of you that are coming on a little bit late, we have already talked about step 1, discovering your own strengths by taking the VIA survey. Display your top strengths proudly and watch what happens. But what comes next? Yes, we are going to talk about students. Let's talk about how you can help students discover their own strengths and what happens when you do. Well, it's really my mouse issues today, guys. Here's your students lighting up. So this is an image I absolutely love. Help your students turn their lights on. How can you do that? Well, there is a magic moment that we have had the opportunity to see over and over again when students discover their top strengths. It is absolutely magical, just like this image. From our youngest students to our high schoolers that can take the VIA and get their reports for the very first time, universally, they light up. We're going to take a little field trip next into one of our classrooms so you get a glimpse of what this looks like when students activate their strengths, when they know them and discover them. And I encourage you to listen for that impact so you too also can do this step. And we will be sharing with you at the end how you can do that. So listen next into what impact you might see in this classroom.
It really helps to reach our students. It helps to build the relationship between the teachers and students because we learn a lot about them. And we talk about the relationships with their peers, relationships with adults. How do you feel about school? How do you feel about your home life? So it really creates this classroom community where everyone's engaged. No one's afraid to be honest and talk about things.
My character strengths are kindness, honesty, leisure. I use kindness in class. Once when somebody was struggling with their work and I helped them, I'm happy I get kindness in my body because if I wouldn't be kind, I would be mean. And I don't like to be mean.
One of the students in my homeroom, he's a young man that struggles a lot with emotion. And when I say emotions, I mean anger. And we did an activity. I said, sweetheart, I said, I love this. I said, I don't see this all the time. I was, basically just trying to pick his brain. Where did this come from? What is this? And he says, when we do this in class, it makes me feel like I can talk about things. And so I feel more comfortable, and that makes me happy. And he smiled. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is what this program is for. Like those students who don't always excel in academics or following procedures or sometimes being respectful to their peers and adults. They have that time, they have that space where they can be honest, and you see a light in them, or you see something that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. It's easy as an educator to focus on the negative of students' behaviors and just focus on correcting. But when you really think about character strengths, it makes you focus on the positive and make sure you acknowledge those behaviors. And students feel that. Just the ideas and the goals that we have for our school now and for our students has just exploded. It's just inspiring. It really.
It is inspiring. Every time I watch this video, it inspires me.
know.
Kelly.
Lynn, I
Very
just want to
exciting.
let me interrupt you with one of the comments. I just love Mr. Shane Lucas sharing, like what he noticed is that what an interesting skill these young students have to be able to reflect on their strengths. I just love that language and that ability that folks are noticing here in the chat.
Very good point, Kelly. I think sometimes we think that the younger students can't do this work, and they can. And of course, the high schoolers do great, middle school do great, but it is so amazing to think about the self-efficacy these kids are developing. Their confidence is just so clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks everyone for your comments. We love to have you engage with us in the chat. So as you think about this, we're going to share with you just a few ways that after the students have taken the survey in those middle to upper grades, there's so many creative ways they can display their strengths. But we absolutely love this because if you think about it, very different from what you just heard from those students. Our students hear a lot of negative messages, don't they? Whether it's social media, from home, even at school sometimes, they just get bombarded sometimes with that negativity. And to help them make that switch, this is really, really important to help them flip that script. So remember, when they know their strengths, they feel those positive emotions, and that in turn leads to deeper learning. Take a look at this beautiful young lady in the middle of the screen from one of our middle schoolers. She is proudly displaying her top strengths, is she not? Look at that face, and you can see her pointing, and you can see some other creative examples. The kids love to decorate their plaques and make their own. And what I would also say to you is this: in conversation at this school, what we found out is that these middle schoolers left these plaques on their lockers for the entire year. No one tore those off. Can you imagine a middle school where the students respect one another so much so that they left those intact, did not tear them off or put anything negative up? And again, what a great way to get to know students and for them to get to know one another. So many different ways you can display those strengths. We know you'll come up with many of your own. So with that in mind, let's move to step 3. How can you spot strengths in your students? This is the very next step. You've taken the survey, you're displaying your strengths proudly, perhaps your colleagues as well. Students have taken the survey, they're displaying their strengths. Now let's get into some strategies. This ripple is really an important statement to hold on to. You want to start this ripple by using your signature strengths and choosing to spot strengths in others. And that starts with all of us as educators. And before you know it, the ripple will occur and your students will catch on and they will begin spotting one another as well. And we're going to share with you a few strategies for how you can encourage this in your own classrooms. You see some great students here on screen, but what we want to share with you is this. Strengths Body is so flexible. You've got the 24 strengths, you've got your chart, the strengths are on display, and it's time to start spotting. So many creative ways. If you think about any student recognition program you might already have in place, they fit beautifully into that. It's such an easy next step. Can also be part of your activities in your classroom, and we'll be sharing some more examples. You might use formal spotting cards like we're going to show on the next slide, or you might even just use Post-it notes or even posters like these students right here with their own images. Isn't that beautiful? A lot of people think, oh, strength spotting, it's only for the little kids, right? And no, I will tell you, our high schoolers love this aspect of our thriving learning communities curriculum. And, it's a big part of what we do every day with students. And one might think that, again, too much, but look to the left, read those gratitude grams. These are high schoolers that were paired with youngsters in the elementary grades here in the States. And so they were paired up and had a mentor, and we asked the younger students to spot those high schoolers' strengths. Look how well they did. They're spotting strengths, they're calling out how it impacted them. And then if you look to the right, these are actually high schoolers spotting each other at the end of a class session, and they go quite in depth. And of course, I don't think we asked them to put the spots on their backs, but they did because they're high schoolers. But so much fun. And when this happens, you can feel that positive emotion, and you can feel the respect for individuals and how all of us are a little bit different, but we have these common elements, 24 strengths, each of us in our own way. So we just want to leave you with a few pro tips here on spotting, because it's not tough, but we think these 3 steps are very, very important. First, notice the good. What was the thing that happened? What happened? Then name the strengths. This is important. Identify what strength, it might even be a couple that the person used in that situation. And last but not least, share appreciation. Include the impact that person had on you or their fellow students in terms of that use of that strength. This is incredibly powerful. We have a little challenge for you here midway through. We want you to think about a student in your own class or school that might be a tad bit challenging right now, right this very moment. Or if you have to think back a week, that's fine. My guess is your first thought might be something negative. That old negativity bias is real, something they did that made you a little nuts. Now, flip the script from the negative to the positive by considering what might a top strength be for that student. Does this help you think about the student a little bit differently if you dig deep and think about something that's really happening that's positive in that student? Can you shift your perspective? And perhaps this shift will help you think of another angle in which to approach the student. You have some examples. We'd love to see them in the chat. I know everyone will learn from each other here. But Kelly, this is just a powerful, powerful strategy, especially not just those bright stars in our classroom, but for our kiddos that are struggling and challenged. They need that positivity.
Lynn, I'll tell you, I think we all need the positivity.
Right.
I can't exempt myself from that group, but I do want to read a couple of things coming through the chat. Rachel shares, one amazing thing is like when students are willing to put themselves out there and share and reach and stretch. I think that's beautiful. Kristen Sullivan says creativity and curiosity. Cindy Hagan shares fairness. She says there's one student she's thinking of who looks out for others and gets very upset when he notices someone being treated unfairly. Oh boy, we need more of that in the world, don't we? Bethany Glass shares zest, curiosity, and more zest. Okay, we love zest. And Nicole Brickman shares I have a group that is generally chatty, but they also have strong teamwork. That is amazing. Alicia Powers shares that she had a student who struggled and she realized they were bringing up so much humor, leadership, and teamwork to the table. They really knew how to motivate their friends. Sometimes good, sometimes challenging, but what an opportunity for her as a teacher, I think maybe to channel the tremendous wealth of strengths in a young person, right? And then one more, I'll just read one more. Sarah Ryan Purcell shares a very challenging pupil, but certainly has the strength of honesty, brutal honesty. That kind of comes with youth too, like just say it as it is, right? But which comes hand in hand with justice. I really love that. So I'll stop now, but it's lovely to read these really incredible anecdotes people see in the classroom.
Kelly, I can't help but think about our Thriving Learning Communities curriculum that we have, PK-12, because as those middle schoolers and high schoolers, they learn about strengths combining, they learn about towing where, I've got a lot of honesty, but maybe I need to bring a little love and kindness along with it. And that teamwork, we might have to put a little perseverance with that. we talk about dialing up and dialing down strengths and the golden mean. And so, yeah, there's so much we can do here. And I love that everyone is getting engaged with us this afternoon. It's just so exciting this afternoon to see this. So I think, but with that, Moxie, let's share a couple of tools as we promised.
All right, that was a great exercise, Lynn. So on the screen, we have two great examples of templates that could be used by staff to celebrate and strength spot each other and students throughout the year. The Move On Strong on the left-hand side can be used at key times during the year to celebrate growth while embedding the character strengths language. The Strength Spotting Award template on the right can be used quarterly, annually, whenever to recognize and celebrate students and adults alike. Fun fact, at the end of this session, we're providing a free digital download of this tool for everyone on the webinar, so you can begin strength spotting immediately, and it's an example of another resource that's available on our online learning platform.
Wonderful. Thanks, Moxie.
Yeah. All right. So continuing on with the power of knowing strengths, this demonstrates the power of strengths. Our own Alicia Powers witnessed this in a first grade classroom at Roselawn Condon Elementary. This is a classroom that experienced some trauma, behavioral issues, and students struggling to connect with their teachers, themselves, and each other. Even in this space, the power of strengths language impacting culture is visible. Students prepared self-portraits and attributed strengths sentences for themselves. I know this is a little bit difficult to read, so I'll read 3 of my favorites out loud. I have the strength of love of learning because I love learning new things. I love Miss Glass because she helps us learn. I have the strength of bravery because I killed a spider. And then I have the strength of teamwork because whenever my friends need help, I help them. I have the strength of perseverance. I never give up and try, and try. When I see these self-portraits by students who are 6 to 7 years old, it activates my own strengths of hope and sense of meaning because I think about how strong these students are to be so young and to see all the amazing things they do every day with strengths. Like me too, child. I use my strength of perseverance and I try.
I love that.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to step 4, making strengths visible. Building on a strength spotting practice, let's explore how you can make strengths even more visible in the classroom through visual displays and bringing families along with you on the strengths journey through social media. For strengths to be a common language in the classroom and to support a shift in classroom culture, it's important to integrate them throughout your students' day and work stream. On the next slide, there's a couple of ideas from our Strengths in Action teacher tips on how you can integrate strengths throughout your day. Take a moment to read over these Strengths in Action teacher tip cards. These were developed as a response to requests from educators. I know I personally would have loved to have these tips when I was a middle school teacher. These cards include ideas on how you can incorporate the 24 character strengths, as well as ideas on how to embed mindfulness practices into your classroom on a daily basis. Let me give you a moment to read over these 2 cards.
Moxie, should we go ahead and
Yeah, let's move on. Which one could you use or modify for your own classrooms? Feel free to go ahead and shout those out in the chat. While you're doing that, let's move on to the next one, displaying these strengths. We know from our own experience and from research as well that visually displaying the character strengths is a critical component of having a thriving classroom. They serve as a visual reminder to you, your students, and to families visiting the classroom. They are versatile as well. They can be used for strength spotting, as you see with the bulletin board on the left, or they can serve as a resource when integrating strengths into your content area. The sky's the limit. One last example, an art teacher in Ohio engaged her students in building large portraits to line their hallways, each one highlighting an influential and successful person, like Sonia Sotomayor, who you see on the screen right now. Imagine creating your own gallery of strengths heroes, local or national. All right, I'll turn it back to you, Lynn.
Wow, exciting. So many great examples and so much creativity out there. I'm really excited also to share, you mentioned earlier, Moxie, that one place that we can really make strengths visible is thinking about our families and how we can connect with them through social media. Let's look at just a couple of examples and I'll hit some highlights as to why this is so important as you look those over. When families know about the character strengths language, and it's great to encourage its use at home, if they're understanding what you're doing at school and they're on board with the 24, they will work on with their students at home. And so when we know that what happens then is we get that really strong impact when they're invested in that shared language. Not only will students and educators feel more positive and therefore more engaged in their work, bringing the strengths language into your community means that everyone can feel positive and get that impact of that shift in culture. When families are stronger, everyone thrives. Wouldn't you agree? So think about who you could team up with in your own school environment where you could work with parents and introduce the character strengths and include them through things like you see on the screen, simple social media posts, and even activities that you're doing in the classroom and taking them out into the community. And with that, we're going to move to step 5. Is that possible? Building relationships. How did we get here so quickly? Well, we've been building up to this. I saw a few more people join us, Kelly, so I'm just going to rehash those 5 steps. Important to learn your own strengths, activate your strengths, build that resilience, display them. 2, and help your students find their own strengths and watch that classroom light up. It will be magical. And then put all of that into action with spotting strengths, both within yourselves, colleague to colleague. Kelly, you mentioned that earlier, how important that is, as also with our students. Moxie gave us some good tools. And then we talked about really getting those strengths out there and making it visible so that everyone can see the strengths. All of that results in the beginnings of that shift we talk about when we said 5 steps to a thriving classroom. And to get that ripple, here's what you're going to begin to see: stronger relationships. You're already going to see it when you get to this step, but we're going to take it even a little deeper. Let's look at a couple of testimonials. This comes from one of our intervention specialists, a specialist here in Cincinnati, actually, and she is reading. I'll give you a moment. Let's let you read that over. Think about that. What was the impact she saw? Tolerant, empathetic. Wow. Better appreciation and understanding of one another. How does that resonate for everyone? Pretty powerful, isn't it? Here's another outcome from a student, a middle schooler. And these are challenging years in that 7th grade year. We've got a student here that's spotting a strength. Go ahead and read that over. They've spotted forgiveness. And indeed, they didn't just stop there. They're talking about how it impacted them and what they saw. Can you imagine the ripple that can occur when we have this kind of forgiveness and kindness going on in a classroom? Pretty incredible. Moxie, let's wrap things up today with some additional examples and strategies to strengthen relationships.
All right, here is a way to embed character strength language into community circle time or morning meetings, or to post a strengths-based question to a small group or class. We have some teachers that use this for a quick break and to do a think, pair, share at any time during the school day to help students get centered and connected with one another, building stronger relationships as they get to know one another at a deeper level. We even have a version of this that our VIA staff uses with one another at staff meetings. You'd be surprised by what they learn about their colleagues that they didn't know before.
That's awesome.
One of the things I think you'll agree with me on is that we as educators are constantly thinking about how can I be proactive in dealing with behaviors that surface in the classroom? This student conference form can be used by teachers or administrators to check in with students, strength spot them, and have them strength spot themselves and reflect on their use of their strengths. When the form is completed, it can be shared with parents or caregivers. Next, we could use a form like this for students to create a strengths-based plan while also reflecting and checking in with themselves. This form could also be shared at parent-teacher conferences. Caregivers love to see their children's strength and get insights by seeing their child's thoughts about their own strengths. What's really awesome is that these tools can be found in our online learning platform. And then finally, while engaging in meaningful discussions with your students, you could create an anchor chart students can reference in future situations. These examples are from a team where classes were having physical altercations with each other pretty frequently, at least 1 to 2 times a week. The intervention specialists and teachers partnered with students for their input to proactively address behavior management. What strengths would they need to tackle these issues? This gave them the opportunity to reference back when these issues would arise, and students started to address each other with strengths language. Another important way to bring strength into almost any lesson is about setting expectations for learning and establishing positive learning habits. Just as we teach students to raise a hand to ask a question, we can teach them about the importance of fairness or social intelligence as a motivation for respecting others' thoughts and opinions.
Absolutely. So powerful, Moxie. So powerful. One last thought, we talked a little bit earlier about social media posts and that kind of thing. It's also great to just provide resource. And this is an example from our family engagement flip book in which we encourage those activities at home. Again, getting that ripple effect, really seeing high impact. We are so excited to share with you all kinds of ideas and strategies. We're going to let Kelly at this point is going to begin in the next slide to wrap up and share with you how you can get more information and of course get some of these free resources. Kelly, we hope you'll stay on past that. We have one last slide after that, and then we're doing great on time, everyone. We'll certainly stick around for a little Q&A. If you want to revisit any of these topics, it's been a good quick pace. And we hope you gathered lots of great ideas. So Kelly, what can you tell us?
Yeah, so I have a lot to share about this slide, and I want to pick up on what Lynn just said. After we talk through this slide, which is essentially all of the free giveaways and all the goodies that you get from attending this webinar, which is a lot. I encourage you to stay on and you can put your questions in the chat and we will read them to Lynn and Moxie. I encourage you to do that because Lynn and Moxie are real strengths-based experts. You have people here who have developed materials, who have used strengths-based tools that understand the science of strengths and that can help you really think through what you might want to implement in your classroom and to kick off 2024 to get things turned around. So just know you can put your questions in the chat and we will forward your questions to Lynn and Moxie. And with that, I want to go ahead and tell you about the amazing awesome bounty of things that you get. So you see some QR codes here. So if you just pull up your phone and find your QR reader on your phone, that's going to be the fastest way for you to get access to these promotions. And if not, we will follow up with an email also with the same link. So feel comfortable if you're not able for any reason to use the QR coder, the QR code reader. And the amount of things that we're offering here is incredible. So if you go ahead and scan the QR code on the left and take what I think is like the shortest survey ever, it's maybe 2 questions, including your own personal information. You're one of 25 people. You become one of 25 people who are going to receive all these printed materials that we've shown here and more. You're going to actually receive them mailed to you. And they're valued as much as $250. And that's just a simple little survey that helps us know what you valued most about this webinar. The QR code to the right puts you right into some great access. First of all, you get access to our digital subscription, which is normally $150 a year, and we have dropped it more than 25%. This is our largest discount ever, and it just gives you a turnkey program that is grade level, lesson exercises, all of which are SEL aligned. And Lynn, I'm going to follow up with a question for you about that. I just want them to all know also that they'll get access to free digital downloads of the Character Strengths Awards template and the top 5 plaque. And you also get a discount, 25% off all of the print materials that you've seen here today. So the chart that we showed with the questions for each strength, That's going to be available if you scan, and you'll be able to get this 25% off discount in the store. Lynn, I'm going to kind of lob this back to you with a couple of questions. First of all, I would love if you would just enlighten our audience a little bit more. When we see the word a program subscription, what's so great about that?
I could talk a long time about that, but I think what's exciting is the thriving learning communities is all online for you. And so the entire curriculum, grade level by grade level, has been mapped out. And each grade level, there is a set of a whole year long, really, worth of curriculum lessons that are designed to be 20 minutes in length. And probably really, really important to today's webinar, character strengths library that is full of resources you can use in the classroom, with a lot of the great examples that we've shared today come from that library, as Moxie has shared. When you're in that subscription, it allows you access to that library as well as some introductory courses. There are also some great professional learning courses too that are available by subscription. So this particular subscription is for a curriculum, of course. And again, we are, love for you to explore that with us. It is an amazing social and emotional learning curriculum through the lens of character strengths. So very unique. So if you're looking for growing those social and emotional learning skills, those skills of your students, whether it be self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, decision-making, we have found the very best way to do that is through the lens of character strengths. So again, you get a robust character strength library, but you also get an incredible curriculum with lots of extensions and modifications available. That's really powerful.
And you're saying all of that is grade level, correct? It's all like if I go in, I could find, like if I'm teaching 8th grade this year, I could find something that's useful and turnkey for me that I could start using immediately. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And, a lot of people are looking for high school curriculum, and we tackled that. I mean, really, we tackle the hard topics in high school, like social media and diversity, equity, inclusion, all through the lens of character strengths, how to set goals, how to prepare for college and career. All of that is included in the high school curriculum. So, and the little guys in the lower grades, our kindergarten pre-K curriculum is solid as well, really supports literacy, readiness, all kinds of great skills.
And one last
Created
question.
by educators.
One last question. When I read somewhere that it's aligned with Castle aligned, tell me about that.
CASEL has become in the United States sort of that governing body. They don't have an official authority, but they have just, taken that authority. They have a body of research behind their work that really identified these 5 areas of social and emotional learning that I just discussed, going from self-awareness all the way to decision making. And so they've become very accepted in the States, but also it's beginning to be worldwide, I think, because it's such an incredible comprehensive model. The other thing we love about it is they call it transformative SEL. So they've included that lens of inclusion there around how we are respectful of everyone in our classroom. The strengths fit beautifully there so that everyone can be their best self.
Okay, Lynn, another question that's come up. Because things, if you complete the survey, you enter
Sorry.
to win one of
Yeah.
25. If you go back one slide real quick. And unfortunately, we can't ship that internationally. However, folks who are international are asking, well, if you can't ship it, can we download it? So why don't you talk folks through what they can download? Because I think a lot, right?
Well, and that's where that subscription comes in handy. And I see Alicia, she's nodding. She will, fill you in if I miss anything, or Alex. But basically, the charts and those kinds of things are available for download through the subscription and through the character strength library. All those worksheets you saw, the activities are all downloadable. So when the curriculum goes out, we know you need those things in students' hands. And so we expect that. And then we have also made arrangements before for digital licensing too.
Yes, I think that's important because a lot of people have been asking about downloadable resources. So before we go on, and I love that people are still here with us because I want to offer folks the chance to ask their questions while they have access to experts like you and Moxie. Is there anything else that you would like them to know about, just before we leave this slide, about what they can get and what's available to them here?
I think you all just take advantage. Alicia, Alex, anything you want to add, feel free. You're the pros in this area. And I think really and truly just be sure you take a look at that. The products are amazing. You saw a lot of them in the videos today. We showed you a few, but we encourage you to take a look at those if you're in the States. Certainly, the subscriptions are for a grade level, for a classroom, and they get you started. So, again, get your freebies, take a look, and we'll be glad to share more with you on that.
I just want to clarify, there's a great question from Devon, and she's saying, is the subscription available to everyone for $99 or just the 25 people who get the giveaway? The subscription, so the discount is available to everyone. And I want to emphasize, honestly, it sounds like a late night commercial on television. This is really the best discount that we've ever offered. It's normally $150. So the discount is actually more than 25% off. And we just kind of thought, we know what it's like to be a teacher kind of coming back after the holidays. You're trying to get unstuck. You want to start off the new year with a new, with a really positive vibe in your classroom. And we wanted to make all of this as easy and accessible for all of you. So that's the reasoning behind that discount there. So it is available to everyone. Lynn, anything else you'd have to say about that?
No, and I just think there's a couple questions coming up. We're going to be answering those in the chat as well, you all, about the youth survey. We will send you out instructions for how to do that. You can set up your own site as a teacher. That's really important because there's a student version of the survey for grades 5th grade, that level of about 5th grade here in the States, through 12th grade. So that age around 9, 10, it's about readability more than anything, even though VIA continues to look for a survey for the younger grades. And then when they take that survey, you may see on our materials, our school-based materials, we use the word sense of meaning instead of spirituality, and we use self-control instead of self-regulation. That change in sense of meaning is simply because in the States, we have that separation of church and state. And so VIA, wisely approved that. The researchers approved that we could use that word sense of meaning instead. So yes, we will go ahead and give you instructions on how to set up your own portal for your own students to take the survey.
Quickly, the subscription is good for one calendar year or just the remainder of the school year? It's one full calendar year, yes? Okay, good. I thought that was it, but I just want to
We
make
have a
sure.
lot of different calendar years on screen today.
I know. But from the time you purchase it, you have 12 months of access. Let's see. Lucille, I don't want to lose anyone, so I'm just going to kind of go chronologically, Lynn, and start peppering questions to you, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Lucille is
absolutely.
asking, is it more important to develop these strengths in a specific moment, or should we make it a full-time job during class moments?
I'm going to answer it with an and. Not to hit on the curriculum again, but we love that if you can spend a little bit of time every day, whether it's if you have a class meeting, something that is a little bit of that strength spotting, a moment to build like those community circle questions, that's fantastic. If you don't have access to that kind of time, we recommend you do at least one lesson a week. It keeps it fresh. That's what the curriculum is designed for. But if you're talking about strengths and how to integrate them throughout the day, that to us is an ongoing process. You can integrate the strengths into any content area. You saw the example of the art murals. You can integrate it into any area that you teach, and that just kind of keeps it fresh. Many of our schools select a strength of the week or a strength of the month to focus on. They put it into their announcements. They bring it into their everyday and focus on it in that lessons. And so it is easy to integrate it, but it's also nice to have dedicated time.
And Lynn, one that you might just expound on, I will say our experts, we have like experts handling the chat, experts, answering questions. And one you might just go ahead and expand on from Kristen. So people are asking, do you have this for high school? Do you have this for younger? And one question in there for younger kids is just, how do you help younger students? If the survey is for 5th grade and up, how do you help younger students? Yeah, go ahead, speak
Love
to
that
that.
question. We get asked that a lot. Really and truly, it's all about, it's not so, in the middle grades and upper grades, let me start there. It's important because the students will start saying, why are we doing this? Why is this important? Love, forgiveness, kindness. Look at some of these strengths. When they see their own strengths, it gives that instrument credibility. It gives the whole framework credibility for our middle and high schoolers. And they just need that sense of self-efficacy. To be honest with our little guys and gals, and our little kiddos, they just love to predict what their top strengths are. And it's ongoing for them. They're still figuring out who they are. And if you think about little ones, sometimes you'll see a strength that's just surfaced. It's just solid for that kiddo. But for others, they're still figuring out all of these strengths. The way the curriculum is built in the lower grades, we focus on just 8 of the 24, even though all 24 are on display and we spot all 24. It is just too much to tackle in terms of going in depth and helping them understand those. Those strengths are based on some research that was done by Dr. Lotman and colleagues about what we see in students. So in the lower grades, it's very much about those strengths that surface that are very visible, and that's a research base. Then as they move through the curriculum, it's cycles, and we add additional strengths so that some of the tougher ones like appreciation of beauty and excellence are covered more in depth from 5th grade on, while everyone starts out with all 24. We love for the little guys to predict their own strengths. So what do they think their top strengths are? They can also spot strengths. It's amazing what happens.
I don't know if folks got to this question from Adol Ong, and it's just a question of getting onto the VIA website and getting a direct link to the Youth VIA survey, Youth VIA Strength Survey. I don't know if folks got to that yet. I know a lot has been answered here. It would be great to just give the direct link and explain that a little bit. So go ahead. Yeah, Alicia, please.
Sorry, y'all. Just want to come off and say, if you take that survey, the free resource will automatically upload after you submit your survey, and included in that will be directions for not only how to do your own survey, but also youth survey. So just wanted to name that for Lynn and Moxie.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and just to also share, when you go to our site, we have a link to a page called Professionals, and that when you click on, that's on the top level of the navigation. If you click on Professionals, you then can create, and it's free. This is totally free. You can create a dashboard that will allow you to create the VIA survey and send it out to all of your students, and then collect all of the results right there. And that the dashboard is totally free. A lot of these resources are entirely free, and they are built for people like you, and they give you a lot of access to using that. Let's see. There looks like another question coming in. Yeah, Kristen Sullivan saying setting up a portal for yourself to have kids take the survey through. Yes, exactly. That's what it is. We call it a dashboard, but you're right. It's a portal essentially. And thank you for all these questions coming through. There's a tiny pause maybe in the wait, do we have a direct link to the Youth VIA survey? Is there something we could put in the chat maybe?
Yes, that's been put in there.
It's put in. Okay, great. I didn't know. Let's just go ahead and Lynn, while we're waiting on more questions, go ahead and cover your last slide, and thank you for your patience.
Oh, no worries. I appreciate everybody staying on with us. We did get a little bit of a late start today. We just want to wrap up by saying we hope that you take away from today one new thing, at least, that you've learned. And we really would love to see you take the next step. And I'm not terribly worried, Kelly, because everyone's in the chat talking about finding the survey and finding it for their students, which is fantastic. And we just encourage you to do that, to take action today. There were lots of strategies and resources, but really and truly one simple action, just taking one simple step, you all, like that survey and spotting strengths, can make a huge difference, making that shift from the negative to the positive. And when you make that shift, amazing things happen. That culture changes, students thrive, there's less discipline issues, less bullying, more respect, all the things we've been talking about today. And all of that sets the stage for academic performance. So we are so blessed that you were here with us today. Thank you for joining us. We'll stay on a little bit longer. We are so appreciative of everyone's questions. And we just can't wait to see what you do with this work.
Yeah, there's a few more questions coming in. I just want to,
Kelly?
Yeah, please.
Oh, could I interject real quick?
Of
I got
course.
a couple questions about being able to purchase products internationally. So we do have We offer physical products for the Thriving Learning Communities curriculum. Right now, it is quite a bit of money to ship internationally, so it's not something that we're offering at this moment, but we are hoping to translate those physical products into digital downloads that can be purchased and printed by people anywhere. So that's something that you want to look out for, hopefully at the end of this year or next year.
Great. Good. I mean, I know things are always improving. Liz McDonald said, I noticed the great PowerPoint slides. Interesting, but not too busy. Okay, let's just go ahead and give some props to the woman who was just talking. That's like Alex saves us all from a design perspective, and she helps all of us look good. So Liz, thanks for calling that out and giving us the chance to strength spot one of our own colleagues. That was awesome.
Excellence out there.
Oh, so nice. I read that. I was halfway through reading that and I was like, oh, that's a strength spot. Let's see. Okay, we have another question coming in. My partner and I have used the adult survey in our program, Take the Leap. Awesome. And in Canada, as well as with professionals. And now I am designing the program to fit kids grades 5 through 12, hence looking for easy. So important to bring this to younger kids. Yes, absolutely. And we are thrilled that you're doing that because they need it. They certainly need it. Okay, so a couple of questions. Is setting up a portal free? Yes, setting up your what we call a pro dashboard, like a dashboard that allows you to extend an invite to a student. You'll invite a student to take the survey. We call it a survey invitation. Setting that up, you call it a portal or a dashboard. It's totally free. And the student doesn't set anything up. They just receive an email with a link to complete the survey. So it's a very simplified experience for the student. And that's how you get their character strengths. And we do have a youth survey available for grades 5 through 12.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes about 20 minutes. If you've got students that may, we do have a supplement that Dr. Nemec wrote that helps with students with disabilities. So lots of different ways to address that. And again, setting aside that time is really important. And we also suggest the students take it year to year, and they love to compare their past results with current, remembering that the character strengths are context sensitive. They can shift over time. We do tend to see them settling in at that high school level a little bit. But again, they love seeing them year to year.
Yes. Okay. So a couple of additional good questions, and I am going to give, let's see. First of all, sorry, what if students don't have access to email? Is there a way for us to give the survey to them?
The link can be provided. Do
Yeah.
they have, if they, in that case, it takes the internet. For
Yeah,
them to
they would
access
need
it.
digital access.
Right, they could have a link that takes them there.
Yeah.
And
As
that's
long-
typically what we do in a lot of our schools.
Mhm. Okay, just reading the next one, seeing the sense of accomplishment these students express with their character strengths. I think I would like to start doing a gratitude card to a deserving student in each of my study skills classes to celebrate their character. That's beautiful, so it's not performance based. It's really about the character being brought.
Absolutely. And Shane, once you start doing that, you will find after a while you'll want to keep track, get a spreadsheet open or a chart and check off that you make sure you get everyone, even those challenging students. That's my challenge for you, Shane. And I think the other thing is you'll watch what happens is the more you do that, they will want to start spotting each other as well. And that's when it really takes off.
Yes. Yes. Let's see.
Yes, you can.
Submitting, let's see. Oh, okay, Alicia's got that. Okay. Perfect. I know, Alicia.
Team.
Okay,
Great question.
Nicole's sharing her top 5 for today. Are you able to
all the
retake
learning, Nicole?
Yes, Nicole, you can retake it from the same account. And it really makes sense to take it again in the future and to take it at different times in your life, both for you as an adult and for your students. If they took it in the 5th grade, they might want to take it again in the 8th grade or the 10th grade, because when we're at different life stages, we're expressing different aspects of our character, different aspects of our personality. Yes. What an incredible wealth of questions. And I think it's just really heartening also to see the folks who arrived today. First of all, your persistence. Thank you for coming. And it's also really heartening just the types of questions that you're putting into the chat. So many people, you know, we can really see that you are caring and that you want to create a positive culture and that you really want to connect meaningfully with kids. And it's uplifting for us to see that. Mr. Shane is saying, I'm a special ed teacher, so most definitely we want to catch our strugglers at moments of greatness. Yes, absolutely. And not just rewarding them on accomplishment, right? Rewarding them on, you know, how they're showing up and expanding our definition of greatness.
Absolutely. That's that whole piece about that negative message that we've been so focused on deficit based versus asset based, Kelly. And so this approach, while we say wrong to strong, it really is that shift from what's wrong, what's deficit in our students to what their assets are. And those assets build more assets, and that continues to grow, which is also that broaden and build theory. Excellent point.
And I think what a beautiful thing, like as a parent, like I'm a mom, you know, for me to have a positive vocabulary about my child, right? And that it's not about what grade did they get, but there's a fuller understanding of the child, a multidimensional, and that I can communicate with a teacher that way. To me, that's very enlightening and encouraging.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
We've got still a lot of people on. Do we have any other burning questions coming in, Kelly?
yes, you guys, you have a chance to ask these experts in strengths. Lynn and Moxie are here to answer your questions.
We also dropped the email address for our support account, so please save that and send any emails or questions that come up in the future. support@hub24.org.
Yes, and we know some of you are joining us late. You probably had a busy day, and we understand. We're glad that you've had a chance to connect with Moxie and Lynn. And thank you, Cindy. Thank you for coming. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Wait, Elizabeth says, I was wondering, are we receiving a certificate for this webinar, for attending the webinar? I don't think we have a certificate for attending, but we have some great downloadable resources to use in your classroom. That we definitely have. Thanks to everyone for a wonderful presentation. Gobs of good information, right? Grace, thank you, Deborah. Great session. Lynn, you're getting Lynn and Moxie, you're getting lots of compliments here. Also, Alicia is awesome. She is.
Yeah, that's because Bethany's on, whose students wrote those beautiful pictures and statements.
Romania. Aurora is on from Romania. It's almost 1 a.m.
My gosh, bless you.
Thank you so much for coming. It's really touching.
Places, so many time zones here. Thanks, everyone. We so appreciate you joining us today. Just go out from here and use those strengths. Watch what happens. You'll get that ripple effect.
Okay, one more question here. Did I miss the location of the downloadable resources? So, Kenyetta, if you can use this QR code that you'll see on the screen, if you can scan that, you will get access to everything that we're talking about right now. Can I watch this again later? Yes, we are hoping to send out the recording from this to everyone who's on the email. Let's see. Is signing up for my own portal, not the researcher portal, the professionals portal. Let's see. Got it. Thanks. Okay. Good. Excellent. All right, everybody. I think with that, I'm gonna stop recording. And let's see, where is that? There we go.